The house yielded like it had been waiting for me. Door swinging open on hinges that didn't squeak despite looking like they should have rusted solid. The smell hit me immediately. Not just the usual cocktail of sickness and rot, but something else underneath. Worm-ridden earth. Sour, wet, freshly turned soil. The kind that clung to work boots and truck tires, heavy with the memory of things buried. Inside was a single room converted into a makeshift hospice. Medical equipment crowded around a hospital bed. Monitors beeping in the slow, irregular rhythm of a heart that had forgotten why it was supposed to keep beating. The air was thick with the humidity of labored breathing and the sharp chemical smell of medications dripping through an IV line. The dying man was older than the last one, maybe mid-70s, skin like parchment stretched over bird bones. His breathing was so shallow I had to watch his chest carefully to see if it was moving at all. Family clustered around him. A daughter who looked like she'd been crying for days. A son-in-law who stood with his hands shoved deep in his pockets and his jaw clenched tight. A handful of grandchildren too young to understand why everyone was whispering. But when I touched his hand, preparing for the familiar flood of memories and the burn that would follow, something went wrong. The burn should have begun. His life rushing through me in all its messy complexity, joy and sorrow tangling together, waiting for me to sort it into something that made sense. Instead, I got stoned. Darkness pressing down on me like the weight of the entire mountain, merciless and infinite and patient as death itself. A song of rivers twisted into teeth. A voice older than language, colder than any grave. And then the voice, sliding into my consciousness like oil poured into clear water. Lorelei, not his voice, not his memories, hers. The soul miner herself, speaking through the spaces between his dying breaths, reaching up from the sunken places she called home to brush her fingers against my mind. The man's soul didn't rise clean the way it should have. Instead, it shattered, splintering through me in jagged fragments that cut and tore and left me bleeding inside. And through those broken pieces, I felt her hand. Bone-pale fingers locking around my wrist with a grip that belonged to the mountain itself. I looked down and saw nothing but my own skin, sweat-slick and trembling. But underneath I felt her touch, cold and endless, and alive with an appetite that had been growing with desires of flesh. The walls of the house shuddered like someone had struck the foundation with a sledgehammer. Dust rained from the water-stained ceiling. The monitors began to alarm. Electronic screams joining the chaos as the dying man's body finally gave up its ghost. I ripped my hand free, or thought I did. My arm throbbed where she'd touched me. Veins burning like they were filled with ice water instead of blood. The old man slumped forward in his bed, dead now. His soul barely rescued from the twisted nightmares waiting in the dark spaces beneath conscious thought. The family rushed forward, voices overlapping in panic and grief. But I was already backing toward the door. My legs felt weak, unreliable, like they wanted to fold under me at any moment. The smell of rotting flesh followed me, clung to my clothes, filled my sinuses until I could taste decay on the back of my tongue. Outside, the night air felt colder than it should have for late August. The woods beyond the house whispered not with wind, but with something else. Layers of breath, like the hills themselves, were gossiping about me, sharing secrets in voices too old for human ears to properly process.